going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Sunday. We're back live here, Penenka Studios, all that kind of stuff. It's difficult for me to start the show with the usual pizzazz and happiness and fun that we like to try and have on Matchday Reloaded, because it's a tough one today. Manchester United 1, Brighton 3. The reflection after not the night before, the afternoon before, the discussion about it. Obviously, this morning we're going to be bringing you reactions, clips from the likes of Flex, KG, Haley, Marcel, DJ, and others outside Old Trafford and inside UVHQ. We'll be bringing you some quotes from the manager, Erik ten Hag himself, and just kind of a bit more of a reflection, if this is the first time you're watching Matchday Reloaded, kind of a reaction, a reflection on the match day prior, hence Matchday Reloaded. And I was thinking about this a lot last night. And I was thinking this morning when I woke up, having my coffee, which is here, you know, and thinking about the performance yesterday, thinking about the result, thinking about the future, thinking about the week ahead for Manchester United. And it's a rough one. I don't think you can't look away from that. I mean, you always want to be cautious because you want to walk the fine line between overreacting and being reactionary, and also call it out. Yeah, call it out and seeing it for what it is. And I've definitely come to the conclusion and realized this week, I said it yesterday on the full-time view, this week's going to be a really, really tough week, guys. I'm not saying we can't get anything positive by Munich away, because actually, I think it was Micah said it on the match for yesterday, and it is somewhat true that if anything, we might have a better chance at getting like a point away at the Allianz Arena than at home against Brighton, which is a mad statement to say, but it's because we know what we've got to do at Allianz. You just literally go on a counter attack, go on the counter attack. Bayern will give you chances, and we'll see what happens. Yesterday felt like those away performances we've had against those top 6 sides, top 7 sides, top half sides really, over the last season, where start the game well, create some chances, threaten, and then after the 20 minutes we get a bit of a jab to the jaw, bit of a body blow, and then that's it. That is just completely it. It's just fall apart. And the mentality isn't there, really. I mean, the first half yesterday was such a strange one, too, because I think despite going in at half-time 1-0 down, I think everyone would have looked around and said, actually, you know what? We played some good stuff from the first half. We created some chances, looked lively. Erik ten Hag started with the diamond, which we'll get into later on. And then second half, it was just fall apart, just toothless. Defensively, we look so fragile. The midfield just kind of evaporates. You're then looking to your attacking players. What can you create? What can you do? Marcus Rashford, we've got a stat on him. We'll go into him a lot more in detail later on in the show. But being greedy, taking too many chances, not putting it across to his striker. And then you just come out of the game and there's no excuses. I've seen some people using screen grabs about, the Hojlund chance and saying, it might have been in, it might have been out. It looked out to me. I mean, you never know because of the thing with Japan at the World Cup against Germany where it looked out, but it was in. But realistically, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. And I know that people will say that changed the game. Look, obviously, you equalise at home against Brighton. Maybe it does change the game. But that's where we're at. We're latching on to these things, and we're latching on to, maybe this and maybe that. We'd have conceded again in that game because we nearly conceded 4 in the end. Frankly, it should have been 4-1. Onana makes a decent save from Ansu Fati right at the end, and it could have been 4-1. We were going to concede more. And what we saw yesterday, realistically, was 2 sides on paper. We have the better players on paper. Look at the players that were playing yesterday for Brighton. They had Danny Welbeck, Lallana in that team. And we just got, I mentioned yesterday, humbled, schooled, humiliated on your own patch. I know people will say, Flex pointed out in his fan view, was it even much of an upset? Probably not, realistically. Probably not that much of an upset. I mentioned in the press conference Friday, are we gonna be surprised if we lose like 3-0 at home to Brighton? Not really, because they've done it. They've done it to other teams. They've done it to better teams. They did it to Brighton. They did it to Arsenal at home last season, and we all kind of looked at them and went, "Wow," So we shouldn't be shocked. We shouldn't whatsoever. And the general feeling is that this is going to be a tough season. This is going to be a long season. It's going to be a long week. I think the pressure's really going to be on by the end of the week, because the game in the Champions League is going to be a really, really tough one. And that game, looking a bit ahead, Burnley next weekend, that is a massive game for Man United and Erik ten Hag. Not to say that if he loses, he's going to lose his job or anything like that, because it's not at that stage yet. But at Man United, the pressure's already on anyway. But once you start getting into a rut, and that's what it feels like we're at the moment, we're in a rut. And it's rough. I mean, there's no other way to describe it other than it's rough for Manchester United at the moment. Brighton have now become a bogey team as well, because I saw this stat: only against fierce rivals Manchester City and Liverpool have Man United lost 4 successive Premier League games, with Brighton quickly becoming a bogey team. We're now into 12th place in the Premier League. It's our worst start in 34 years, 2 wins and 3 losses in the first 5 games. It's our worst start to a Premier League season ever. It's the numbers are damning. And even we have to kind of get past this too. I was thinking this last night too, and I put myself in this. I hold my hands up to this as well, that we need to get past this "we played well for" thing, because I do this as well. We played well for 20 minutes, and I've said it in the show. This is why I'm saying to myself, I've got to get past this. We played well for 20 minutes. We played well for 30 minutes. We played well for a half. That's not enough. In the Premier League, that's not enough. You have to, and look, only the top teams like Man City at the moment really dominate for, well, even yesterday they went 1-0 down, but for 70 plus minutes, 75, 80 minutes, sort of totality, they dominate games. But we've got to get out of this thing of we play well for 20 minutes and that's it, and let's hope that we score goals in that 20 minutes, otherwise we're going to lose the game. That's where we're kind of at the moment. And as I mentioned, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. You've got Top 5 Vid says, let's be positive, guys. And this is the difficult thing that we now find ourselves in, because you can't come out of a game like yesterday and just the general form that we're in at the moment and be sort of delusionally positive. You cannot. Manchester United are a mess at the moment. And when you have results like that yesterday, it just whiffs of something bigger going on at Manchester United. We got 2 right wingers unavailable for different reasons, and the right winger we did have didn't play yesterday. We've got, we despite obviously you being handcuffed by FFP and obviously the issues that we have with the ownership above us, it's not as if we haven't spent money on signings this summer. And a couple of them have been injured. They're not available. We've got injuries. We've got discontent between, players and all that kind of stuff. It's a mess. You cannot shy away from it's a mess. You cannot look at it and go, it's a mess. Were there some positives in terms of patterns of play for periods of time? Yes. But at the same time, what really matters is results. Results and totality of performances and falling apart. Now, Burnley away next weekend. Will we beat them? Maybe. That's a tough ground to go to. Will we beat teams at home in the Premier League this season? Of course we will. Of course we will. We beat Wolves and Forest this season in the Premier League at home. But realistically, it's kind of sort of similar-ish performances that, if we kind of said, didn't we, against the likes of Forest and against the likes of Wolves, we're fortunate that we were playing those teams, because if we're playing a good team, we would have lost today. And that's kind of what happened against Brighton. We played a good team and we played like that. So we lost. There is no complaints in terms of the result or the outcome yesterday. None at all. The better team won. They were tactically superior. They were just superior just in every facet on the pitch to us. And that shouldn't be the case. And I know that people will say, well, it's not it's not humbling because they were better than you. When you're a club the size of Manchester United and you lose at home 3-1 and you were 3-0 down and comfortably so, and you were getting played off the park towards the end there, that is a humbling on your own patch. It is. I mean, that is just exactly what it is. And it wasn't like it was 3-0 later on in the game. When did they score their third goal? Like they were comfortable, very, very comfortable. And it's a body blow. You got to take it. Super chat here already. Zayn Miasi's in the chat. Says when we win today, we'll be 7 points ahead. You got to go away to Everton and talk about bogey sides. But last time you won away at Everton, Arsene Wenger was in charge, I believe. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that one. Some quotes from Erik ten Hag as well. He says, very disappointed with the result. We played quite well in the first half with many chances, but we had 2 setbacks, starting with their goal, then the disallowed goal. Speaking about their goal, that's also something. That goal, and actually the goals we conceded yesterday too, am I going crazy? Or have we conceded a version of the same goal in near enough every game thus far this season? I feel like we have. I feel like that goal of one pass or a couple of passes, damn, they're in behind, down one of the flanks, cut back, there's either 1, 2 or 3 people arriving, edge of the box or around the penalty spot, side foot into the net. I feel like I've seen us concede that goal at least 3 or 4 times already this season. The same goal, the same move. And I also saw something last night. If you go and watch the game back, in the build-up to that goal, this is the first half, by the way. When did they score their first goal? Actually, let's have a quick double check on this. I want to get my facts right with this one. When did they score their first goal? 20 minutes in, right? 20 minutes into that first half, the players are jogging around, and it goes back to we've seen this. We've seen this before. They start lively, 10, 15 minutes, and then where's the press? What are they doing? And I once again look at it going, if I'm Erik ten Hag, surely that's not what he wants. Surely that's not what he wants. You want to put pressure on them. I understand Brighton, they bop it around really nice. You want to be careful. You don't want to make spaces on me. You want to make it challenging. But like the lack of effort, the jogging, the body language at points in terms of getting around the pitch was shocking. And I look at people like Rashford when it comes to that one because it was bad. I look at Casemiro, who was blowing. I was blowing not long after, like 30 minutes into that one. And it's really, really alarming. Really alarming. And as I said, that goal, honestly, they score it and I go, I've seen this every game. The same goal every time. Now, as I mentioned with our goal, the disallowed goal, look, who knows? I mean, there might be, I'm sure there'll be people that put those angles out there where it looks like the ball is still in, or they'll go to the example of Japan at the World Cup and say that one looked out to the naked eye, but it was in, and who knows, maybe it was. But I'm not even doing that. I'm not leaning into it because Brighton would have scored another one. We were so open and so vulnerable, and I think it was out. It was out, you know. And frankly, you make your own luck, realistically, when it comes to that. And no, I'm not doing that. I know I've seen people doing that, and when we're doing that, when we lose a game 3-1, and we were again soundly defeated, and we're pointing out, but the thing and the ball might not have been in. We just embarrass ourselves when we do that, and we've been embarrassed enough in terms of the result anyway. We don't need to do that. You need to take your licks sometimes and just go, look, we were shit, we were rubbish, they were better than us. End of. That's it. You know. And it's incredibly frustrating. As for the new system that Ten Hag used, he used a diamond yesterday. Ten Hag said, quote, absolutely, when he was asked if the system worked. The first 20 minutes were very good. We have to stick to the plan despite the goal because it worked well. We had quite a few chances. Where I would agree with him, what he's saying there, is that, and this has been a persistent problem for United under several managers, particularly in recent history, whether it's Ten Hag, whether it's Ralf Rangnick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whoever, is that we start a game with a system in mind. We start a game with an idea, a tactical plan, whatever. And it does go well for 15 or 20 minutes. And we do create chances. And you do sit there and go, hey, we're playing pretty well. We're knocking the ball around. Eriksen's playing well. Hojlund's making runs into the middle box, looking dangerous. Reguilon and Rashford are linking up on the left. You go, that's looking pretty. That's looking good. It's looking all right, actually. Yeah, I'm liking the look of this. And then one setback, which is sometimes conceding the goal. And look, that can happen in football. That happens to the best teams in football. Well, they'll start a game well, and then just one attack from the opposition, they score, and you go, wow, what happened there? That's the Premier League. That's elite level football. What's your reaction to it? And with us, the reaction tends to be discombobulation for 10, 15 minutes. Let's abandon the game plan. Let's start panicking. Let's start, jogging. Let's start getting our heads down. And he is right when it comes to that, where it comes to where is the reaction? Where is the, okay, setbacks happen, let's move on. And it's fragility. And that's the problem too. It really is. When asked about Hannibal Mejbri, who did score his goal yesterday, Ten Hag said he did what we brought him in to do. He had an impact and brought energy. What I will say, and we're going to go a bit more in depth to Casemiro later on, I think it's a bit of an indictment on Casemiro, frankly, that Hannibal came on and he looked better. And to be honest, did Hannibal look better because he's got better quality than Casemiro? No. He looked better just because he had more energy than him, He looked just because he was willing to get around the pitch a bit more. And that's massively alarming for him. Ten Hag also said that Diogo Dalot played very well. Rasmus Hojlund was a threat. We'll get to Rashford in a bit. There were good players on the pitch, but we didn't get the result we wanted. We have to analyse this match and see where we need to improve, and then we will think about the next match. When he was asked about losing 3 of the first 5 fixtures, again United's worst start to a season in 34 years, Ten Hag was asked, quote, if he was worried about that. He said, definitely that is something that bothers me, but I've also seen the way we play. Finally, it's about the character. We have to see how strong we are and stick together. This was a strange one, to be honest. He was asked about, prices and money spent on players, and Ten Hag said all of the teams have spent a lot of money. Brighton have spent money. When Manchester United come, inflates the price. That's also true. And whilst that is also true, I think the journalist then came back to him saying like that starting 11 for Brighton today cost like £20 million, and it's like that's not a good enough excuse. That's not a good one, Eric. It's not. And our transfer policy and our ability to buy players for a small amount and sell players for a big amount is awful. Obviously, it's terrible. That's why we have the biggest net spend over a certain amount of time in the Premier League. And people like to point to that, and they'll go, well, it's like City fans or Chelsea fans go, I thought we were killing football. And you go, well, in reality, probably around that period of time, you've probably spent more money than us. Everyone knows how much money Chelsea have spent over the last couple of years. The reason we're the highest in net spend is because we can't sell players. Our policy is buy them for loads of money, put them on a big contract for 5 or 6 years, and then they've got to see it out, free transfer. Because we can't sell players, because we're rubbish at it. That's why our net spend's so high. That's why we were stuck with FFP, because we don't make any profit on any players. That's impossible. Profit? Excuse me? And again, once you come out of a result like that against a team like Brighton, you can't start going on about, oh, well, everyone spends money. If you see the numbers, we have spent money. That there is no doubt about that. And we have recruited players. Could we have recruited better players? Could we have been smarter? Could we have addressed more positions? If we could sell players, we would have. But those above that are doing those things, that are negotiating those deals, who are meant to be facilitating their exits, they ain't doing that. They're not. Now, when asked about the Champions League, Ten Hag said, Munich are one of the favourites to win the Champions League. We have to be good there. We need character. We'll talk about that in later on in the show. Ten Hag was also asked if Manchester United are in crisis, and he said no, but we have to be very disappointed and annoyed at ourselves. We will turn this, but there is a demand on us. We started well. We created chances. We have to deal better with that setback. He was also asked about the disallowed goal, saying that is the stage we're at this moment. You have to look in the mirror and make your own luck. We have to improve. He was asked about Rasmus Hojlund as well, saying that he was unlucky with the disallowed goal. It would have been a great afternoon for him. It was not the case, but we will keep going. He is a strong character, as we are a team, and we will push back. He said also, there is always some improvements to make, especially the organisation, but today was not our day. You learn many things from such a game. From the mental side, you can keep strong in moments, but I have seen some good stuff, the way we created many chances. We are just not finishing them, but that will change. We'll talk about finishing the chances in a bit, because I've got quite a bit to say about that. But first, let's get some reaction now. Let's have some reaction from Flex outside Old Trafford. Here's what he had to say about United's 3-1 defeat against Brighton.
Humbled, embarrassed. Ten Hag got it completely wrong from the start. There's one thing about talking about everything that's going on outside of the club. There's one thing talking about all of the situations Ten Hag's had to deal with, and those things are all true. But when you come to a team like Brighton at home, and you try and change so much in such a short space of time. I know he touched on he wanted to play this before at Arsenal. It just didn't work. And one thing, trying new ideas, I don't mind, but the lack of adjustment during the game, the lack of trying to change things as the game went on, just was from bad to worse. I mean, the first 15-20 minutes, actually, I thought Manchester United were really good. We were winning the ball high up the pitch. We were pressing really well. And Rashford looked sharp, Eriksen looked good, Hojlund was getting involved. It looked like it was going to be a good afternoon. How wrong was I? And the situation is, we have to give massive credit to Brighton, because all Brighton did was work us out and say, right, let me get Veltman high, let's get Lamptey high. And when you've got Eriksen and McTominay as left of the diamond and right of the diamond respectively, the gaps were too big and the writing was on the wall. Now, Brighton put one good move together and scored, and it was a good goal. But our lack of mentality, our lack of reaction, you could just see the confidence just get sucked out the players. And the truth is, we never truly recovered from that. And I'm looking at the manager and I'm saying, how are you going to change this? Okay, you went with the two up front from the start. And it worked for a small period. But it's not good enough. When you see that it's not working, there had to be some change. Now, individually, we can talk about Rashford. Is after he looked sharp in the first sort of 20 minutes, he just went downhill from there. Casemiro looked like he was running with a parachute on his back, looked worse for wear, couldn't get about the pitch, basically blown out of his arse. You just got to call it as it is. Scott McTominay having to do those big gaps, having to keep running out to Lamptey. The more the game went on, Lamptey just had an absolute field day and Scott couldn't cover the ground. Eriksen, he's never going to be able to cover that much space. Veltman just kept pushing on and on, leaving him hanging out to dry. He just couldn't do anything. Christian Eriksen, Bruno, he was just trying to do everything because the midfield was an absolute joke, to be honest. And it's 6 to 1, half a dozen the other in terms of if the manager set the players out to do that and they're unfamiliar with a new style of play, I understand it. But they needed help in that situation. He didn't want to start Pellistri from the off. Okay, we can clearly see what the thinking is there. He doesn't trust Pellistri, he doesn't think he's ready. But as that game went on, we had to get wingers in there. We were too narrow. Midfield just wasn't working. And Brighton, fair play to them, just composed himself. And Deserby, he literally destroyed Ten Hag. He obliterated his tactics. And Brighton just do what they do best. Kept moving the ball at will. People getting angry in the stands and annoyed and saying, go after them and run after them. But once you let a team like Brighton like that be in the ascendancy, you're toast. They've been away to Arsenal, done the same thing, cooked them. They've done it at home against, the best. When Liverpool have gone there, stuck free past them. This is a fantastic team. And that's why a lot of people didn't pick Man United to win this game. Is this even an upset?
It's a good point. It mentions it, saying, is this even an upset? And to a lot of people, realistically, it wasn't yesterday. Super chat from Deng says, Ten Hag in, tough time, be patient like Arsenal. And I think... this is crazy that you have to even say this. Don't get it misconstrued. This is not me going, manage, get Erik Ten Hag out. And some people have already decided that, which I think is ridiculous, to be honest, and gone and already going over the top. It's not Ten Hag out or anything like that. But you have to be fair. And when you have results like this, obviously, you look at the individuals that are playing and you say, that's not good enough, that's not good enough, that's not good enough. But you also, the manager's not beyond reproach as well in terms of criticising decisions or criticising stubbornness. And we've done that too. You can criticise the manager about saying you want him to lose his job. Yeah, of course we back Erik Ten Hag. And of course, saying that I believe he can get it right and it's a difficult situation for him at the moment. There's a lot going on at Manchester United. Make no doubt about that. There's a lot of adversity going on. What he's had to deal with over his tenure is insane with the, from a player point of view, from a boardroom point of view, the club possibly being sold. Isn't it being sold? What's going on there? He inherited an awful dressing room, which I think those issues were somewhat resolved, and clearly they're still not resolved. There are still sins of the past that he's having to deal with in terms of, player politics, and also, from a transfer point of view as well, big contracts people are on. So I sympathize with him with that, I really do. But in terms of the in-game stuff as well, in terms of the in-game team selection, substitutions, tactics, nobody's beyond reproach when it comes to that. And when you've got a situation where you're chasing the game 3-1, Bruno Fernandes playing right centre-back, you're going, what? What's going on there? Facundo Palestri, you've got 2 right wingers that aren't available for whatever reason, and he still couldn't get a game. He still couldn't get a start. If I'm Facundo Palestri, I'm calling up my agent going, let's get a January loan move going on, because clearly the guy doesn't trust me or rate me. Maybe his time will come, and maybe that's when he gets his foot on the door and he kicks it down. But that was damning on him there as well. And the stubbornness with certain players, Rashford should have been taken off yesterday. And those kind of critiques, they're fair. They're fair to say with the managers. And it's the stubbornness as well. That's fair to call out. I said we were going to go into players individually. Marcus Rashford yesterday. Oh my goodness me. And it's not even just the eye test as well, because it's always good to have a combination of the eye test and the stats. I saw this stat after the game. It's insane. Marcus Rashford yesterday attempted 9 shots against Brighton, his most ever in a single Premier League match, and the most by a Man United player without scoring in the competition since Zlatan Ibrahimovic against Burnley in October 2016. Ibrahimovic had 12 shots that day. That stat there sums up Marcus Rashford yesterday. It was greedy. It was selfish. He wasn't looking for his teammate. His decision making was, practically 0% yesterday. And that is unacceptable when you are playing with a number 9 who is making runs. Now, granted, you can argue maybe last season that wasn't the case because our number 9, Marcel wasn't available, Ronaldo was gone. In the end, we had Weghorst. So Rashford did have to carry the load, and he did have to put Man United on his shoulders, and he had his best goal scoring season because of it. And, he played well last season. He scored great goals, but it's not last season anymore. And we've got a number 9 in. One point in particular absolutely infuriated me in the second half when it came to it, which is at one point, ball comes into Rasmus Hojlund, does a brilliant turn, puts it out to Rashford. Rashford's one-on-one with a fullback. Hojlund's made a run in the box, and he takes a shot, goes side netting. And the infuriating thing as well is when he did do it on occasion, we nearly scored. The disallowed goal, Rashford helps create that. Another one, ball came in for Hojlund, and Hojlund sort of slides for it. He just misses it. But that's not good enough. In those instances, that's not good enough, because if the opportunity presents itself, it's not about you scoring, Rashi. It's about making the best opportunity possible. It's about decision making. That's the key thing, decision making. And if I'm Erik ten Hag, after the game, I'm pointing out every single time and going, why did you do that? Why did you take on the player there? Why did you take the shot there? Why didn't you find the run? Because that's what you've got to do. And if you're incapable of doing that, then we've got a problem. And that is when, yesterday, if you're Erik ten Hag, you've got to look at a player like Marcus Rashford. I know at this point, senior player, big contract, he's just got it. But if he's not up to it, you've got to take him off. Bring on Garnacho. Because we've seen Garnacho actually be willing to take on fullbacks and then get the ball in the box. Yes, we've seen Garnacho take shots as well, but we've also seen him get balls in the box. And that is the key thing. And when you make that decision, when you've got the opportunity to get the ball to your striker and you decide, no, I'm going to go it alone, you better score. Because if you don't, you'll be criticised. And he deserves the criticism yesterday, just like he deserves the praise when he does score. And I think maybe Erik ten Hag thought, look, Rashford's had those games for us. Even the last game against Arsenal, when you're going, well, he's not really doing all that much today. And suddenly, goal out of nothing. And you go, wow, what a goal, Marcus Rashford. He has that in his locker. But yesterday was just not good enough from him. It just was not good enough at all. And again, the decision making and the final ball has to be a lot better. And he deserves criticism yesterday too. And I felt for Rasmus Hojlund. I really did. Because a couple of times he's making those runs. He's going in between the 2 centre-backs, making that great movement. making space for himself, and he's just not receiving the ball. And it was ridiculous. Ben says, Casemiro was worse yesterday, stop scapegoating. We're going to go through players individually, Ben. All right? This is the crazy thing as well. You criticise one player and we get into whataboutism. What about this player? Everyone was bad yesterday. I'm talking about Marcus Rashford at the moment. I will talk about Casemiro after the next clip. I've got it down in my notes. So don't worry about that, yeah? But Rashford, that wasn't good enough from him yesterday. Factual. That was not good enough. And Erik ten Hag has to recognise that. And Marcus Rashford has to recognise that and say, look, okay, I'm playing with a number 9 now. I've got to ensure that I service the number 9, create chances for him. Because, again, that was not good enough. Let's move on. Let's hear what KG had to say from inside UVHQ.
Like, I'm here just saying, how? Bro, how? Wait, what? This is, today, yeah? There's no positivity you can use. There's none. Take the positives out of the game. There was no positives. If you listen, you know what? If you want a positive, I thought Reguilon, yeah? I thought it was the best player. There you go. And that's you know what I mean? No, that's not even saying anything, bro. Bro, I hate saying this bar, yeah? And we say it all the time, but this is supposed to be Man United. Again, let's just look at two sides that play in Manchester right now. Man City are losing. Man United are losing. 1-0 at half-time. You look at it and you say, Man City are going to come back. You look at Man United and you're like, I think we can come back. Can't come back. What is going on? It just gets from bad to worse. Man United did not show up today. And I'm looking for the people that say, you know, it's on you. And you know what? We have to start at the right place. We have to start with Ten Hag. Ten Hag, I don't know what's going on with the dressing room. I don't know what's going on with the players. I'm not saying you've lost the dressing room or nothing, but in terms of the changes and stuff, I don't think Ten Hag's ever been booed for a decision that he's ever made before, but taking off Rasmus Hojlund, I don't know if that's injury precaution or just trying to save him. He hasn't played a lot of football, but bringing on Marcel, that change was mad. I'm hearing that the Man United fans were chanting, Viva Ronaldo, Viva Ronaldo. Even that's crazy, because what is being said in this moment, you know, like, we've had excuses, man, but it's not even a time for excuses. Right now is the time for what are we building? What are we creating? And at the moment, I can't tell you what it is. All I can say is Man United are firmly in the mud. Not even like kind of, no, the last 2 weeks, we were mudded. You say you lose to Arsenal and you think, you know what? There needs to be a response. Man United don't usually lose 2 games in a row. You think, okay, Brighton, this is the game where you can really show yourselves. And people are saying, you know what? This Brighton game looks hard for Man United. How are Man United going to overcome it? Man United go into this game, I'm still hoping for a win, and we get moved to. Literally, today, we got moved to. There's no other ways to look at it. Man United got touched, bro, in a bad way. Deserby is walking around as the happier manager. I'm on a stream doing the Sir Alex in the stands I'm doing that one, bro. I can't believe it, bro. This is ridiculous. Oh, man. And I hate doing, you know what? I hate actually doing like these, yeah, after a game because I'm pissed off, really. That's what it is. I'm pissed off with the result because I don't understand how this thing gets better. Rashi today wasn't good enough. Rashi today, I'm a Rashford defender. He's running and he's saying, Rashford, come on, man. You've got to give us something because you're the talisman of this club and I'm not seeing what I need from Rashford. So Rashford's let me down today. I'm looking for more from Bruno. I ain't seeing what I need to see from Bruno. Then I'm saying, Casemiro, what you got for me? And then Casemiro's missing, like Welbeck. Lallana's doing the little step over the ball. Nice little move from him. And then Welbeck scores.
Welbeck. I mean, it's like I said, the personnel is wild, isn't it? Big up to KG. Casemiro, you got to talk about Casemiro. Don't want to scapegoat anyone. Casemiro, there's concerns there. I mean, I don't know with him. You know, they say that he's a slow start. He had a slow start to his United career last season, getting up to pace. But the first few games this season, it's really, really worrying. It is because yesterday, as I mentioned, he's huffing and puffing. I mean, during the VAR decision where we wasn't sure whether he scored or not, it was Cam posted a video on social media and you see Casemiro go over to Erik ten Hag and Erik ten Hag's telling him all of these different instructions or whatever. He looked lost. He looked absolutely lost at points yesterday. And it's really concerning because it doesn't look like the player that was so indispensable to us last season. Remember the point of time last season around sort of just after the World Cup and into January where we went to the Emirates and we lost and he wasn't playing that day, and when he got the yellow card against Crystal Palace away and we were like, we've lost because Casemiro isn't playing. He was just so, again, indispensable, so important to us. Now it's sort of like you don't know what's happened to him. You don't know whether he's not fit or whether his legs are going. I don't know. Or just tactically he's not there. It just doesn't look good for him. It really doesn't. And the quicker that Sofyan Amrabat is available. I mean, he was in the stands yesterday. Ten Hag obviously said he wasn't available, had a bit of a knock. Don't know if he's going to be available for Wednesday, maybe next weekend against Burnley. I don't know. The quicker he's available, the better, because it almost looks a bit like now that we were saying, is Casemiro going to have a partner in Sofyan Amrabat? Maybe that's Casemiro's replacement. I don't know. And I'd have absolutely, even if Amrabat was on the bench yesterday, you'd have at least then been able to make that clinical substitution. Casemiro, it ain't working out. It's not. You're going to have to sit out, or you're going to have to get up to speed, or you're in a bit of bad form. Take him out of the firing line. I don't know, but the first few games of this season, he's really struggled. Really, really, really struggled. And it is a worry. It is concerning. You have to call it out. You have to. And it's not being, you're turning on the players flip-flop. It's just saying if someone's, this is what's crazy too, isn't it? Is if someone plays badly and you say, hey, he didn't play well, you're turning on the players flip-flop. I can't believe last season you were praising him. Yes, it would. And it's not to say that Casemiro is a terrible player. He's a bum. He's never been good. He was carried at Real Madrid. Clearly not. Casemiro is an excellent player. He's achieved an unbelievable amount in football. He's achieved everything in football. And last season for us, he was excellent. But it's just he has not started this season well. He just hasn't started this season well, and it is worrying. And you hope that it's just a case of he's a slow starter for the season. That's my only explanation for it. Well, in terms of like he'll come back from it, but the signs are not good. They're not at all when it comes to Casemiro. I mentioned Facundo Pellistri as well. I know KG is a fan of Facundo. For him, it looks rough because he's not playing against Bayern on Wednesday. I'd be stunned now if Facundo Pellistri started against Bayern on Wednesday. So we'll probably, let's face it, looking at that diamond again for United. And Ten Hag, with the way that he was talking after the game, would suggest, we played well with it, so we're probably going to stick with it. But it's not even so much the sort of tactical setup for us that I'm more worried about. It's just, again, it's the mentality, it's the fragility. Because Ten Hag is right, in the first 20 minutes, we did play well. But as I mentioned earlier on, that's not enough. Games aren't played over 20 minutes. They're played over 90. And my worry is that if we do get any kind of setback in the game, then you just know, well, that's it. I mean, the moment that Brighton scored the first one, you go, maybe we'll come back. But the moment they got the second one, you went, it's over. It is. And I know people will point to, a few weeks ago we played Nottingham Forest at home and we were 2-0 down, we came back. That's Nottingham Forest. Against a good team, you just go, it's the fragility. And I mean, even, I think what's crazy is even the away one, the 7-0 at Anfield last season. People forget, what are we going at that one at time? 1-0 at half time. And we started the game all right. We started the game all right in that game. We created chances and maybe actually should have had a goal or two. And then once they got the second goal or even the first one, the heads drop and that's it. It's just over. You go, right, that's it. And it's really alarming. That fragility is still there. Absolutely. Let's get more reaction. Let's go to Hayley, who's outside Old Trafford with Flex. Here's what she had to say.
The suffering continues. Why? Why does it have to happen to us? I mean, there's one thing losing at home in my crib. There's one thing losing at United View in the studio. But to come to Manchester, 4 hours drive, that is disgraceful. What happened? What? I'm sorry, Ten Hag. I'm still trying to back you, I'm still Ten Hag in. But today, you got blood on your hands, mate. What are you doing playing the diamond? What has Pellistri got to do to get a chance to start? This would have been the perfect opportunity. Why can't you play to the player's strengths? Why are we playing a diamond? Obviously, Brighton, you got to try and nullify them. I hear it. But come on, please, just play to our strengths. And you know what he's doing? He's played with Bayern Munich in mind. Why is Wan-Bissaka on the bench? Wan-Bissaka has shut down Matoma every single time he's played against him, but yet you want to leave him to the bench. Why? Because Bayern Munich is coming up next week. Since when do you play with another game in mind first? You play what's in front of you, and he fucked up today. He's fucked up today. The board is fucked up. The manager's fucked it today. The players fucked it today. It's just shit. It's horrible, man.
And it was one of those where Brighton, obviously, they get the ball down, they play, and for the first sort of 15-20 minutes of the game, we were actually good. But the problem is that once Brighton calmed themselves down, one move, Danny Welbeck in goal.
Simple. I was like, whoa, where did that goal come from? I'm thinking, it's so easy. They don't even have to try hard. It didn't look like a team that was just boom, 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 slick, slick, slick. It's just, all right, we'll run a bit, we'll knock it over there inside the goal. That happened for all the goals. Okay, you got people like Dalot don't want to go and go to your man. Why? Nobody wants to go and do their jobs. It's just so easy to play against us, Flex. It's so embarrassing. People sitting around me today, Rashford was getting it. He was getting it. When Hojlund came off, everyone was booing.
Yeah,
everyone booed.
Yeah, they did boo, and it's like Hojlund's obviously coming back from injury.
Yeah.
You don't want to rinse him into the ground. That was probably an agreed sub, and that just shows you everything you need to know about how we feel right now. You know, the kid's only been here for 2 games, half a game here and half a game in Emirates, and it's like
he
already.
Looks bright, though.
Yeah, he did.
He does look bright. Who doesn't look bright and who is walking into a dark tunnel? Casemiro. He criminal offences today. In that second half, he played 2 balls off.
He was way off it.
I couldn't believe it. And then he's going like this. Someone should have done that to him because he's taking a piss.
A lot of talk about, obviously, the substitution, the Rasmus Hojlund substitution. And I understand the frustration with Hojlund's coming off and Martial's coming on and all that kind of stuff. But it was very clear, in my opinion, that probably that was agreed upon time. I mean, I don't know if Erik ten Hag has said that himself, but I think he did say, you don't want to you play him through when he can't play 90 minutes and then get him injured and then not have him available for games moving on this season. So that one seemed, logical, to be honest. That one seemed logical to me. So I didn't really understand the booing behind that one. I understand the frustration, but I don't think it was of the case of, tactically, Martial is doing better than Hojlund, that's why I'm doing it. I thought it was clearly a preventative measure with that one. Let's go to the Super Chats. And if you haven't already, by the way, click the like button. We've got nearly 900 people watching. Only 140 likes. So if you haven't already, click that like button. What have we got here? Daniel says, United need the Manchukushner in there to sort them. Frog splash Rashford until he starts passing. Super Dragon. Yes. Hardly anyone's going to get the reference. I get the reference, and the reference is tremendous. But not many people are going to get it. Big up, Daniel. So, yes. So, with the Hojlund one, though, I will say some positives coming out of it. It's the same thing about after the Arsenal game. As Rasmus Hojlund does look to be a handful. You can tell by watching him, no doubt. You can tell by watching him that he's not the complete finished article yet. He is, a lot of talk about diamonds. He's a bit of a diamond in the rough in the sense of he needs sharpening. He needs well-rounding. Sometimes, he can look a bit raw or he can look a bit, clumsy is the right word, but sometimes the ball can kind of get sort of stuck under his feet a little bit, or sometimes it's a bit messy with him. But clearly, it feels like there's a player there. He is a unit. He's a presence. His hold-up play, I was impressed with yesterday. A couple of times, Onana fizzing the ball in, takes the touch, lays it off. As I mentioned, that chance where he puts it out to Rashford. That's going to be a positive for us this season. But it's also important not to ensure that he gets, that he gets injured by overplaying him when we probably agreed that he was going to play 60, 65 minutes anyway. So I do think that was a positive. I do want to also say that Sergio Reguilon, or as KG would say, Reguilon, played really well yesterday. He was arguably our best player, which actually speaks volumes. Spurs is third choice left back, was one of our best players. You know, but credit to him because I put myself included in this one, we're going, oh, Reguilon, what are we doing? What are we doing with Reguilon? He played well yesterday. He did all right, which, again, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. But I do think he did well, and give him credit for that. Let's get more reaction from outside Old Trafford. Here's what Marcel had to say when he talked to Flex. Is Marcel going to have any optimism? Remember, he did say, we're not going to lose at home this season. Here's what he had to say.
Upset. Extremely upset with how the team have played today. Interesting one because, I thought today we would have at least, stuck to our principles a little bit, had wide players, wingers. Ten Hag's gone today with two strikers in Rashford and Hojlund up front, and we kind of looked like things were going to work a little bit for the first
15-20 minutes was actually some of the best football we'd played. So again, remember what we said in the car?
Yeah, bro.
20 minutes, 30 minutes. What happens if you don't score? A little bit of adversity, they score, what happens?
What happens when we do score and then we realise it's taken away from us, like just 2 weeks ago, and emotionally balancing that?
There you go.
Bro, you said it perfectly when you were talking about the Arsenal game and just our mental side of things. You're exactly right, and you could see it again today. We go down or go early straight away, heads drops first few minutes of the game. Even the other two goals, they're identical goals, second and third goal from that left-hand side, someone not picking up the pockets, the midfielders, the strikers kind of playing off the backs of the midfielders and not really playing towards his strikers, back against the striker, the centre-back, sorry, our centre-backs, Martinez and Lindelof. We were just shocking, man. That second half as well. I don't know what is Ten Hag actually saying to them, and why has he changed the system the way that he has? Why
has that puzzled you? Like, we were talking about Palestri, or you wanted Garnacho, but what we did agree on was that it needed to be a 3 and keep the width and still have your midfielders. How are you seeing that decision from Ten Hag to kind of play a diamond today?
Is it because it looked like it worked centrally? They had to play around us. I mean, for the second and third goal, it's exactly the same. They make their way up through the wide areas, and then they can't get into the middle area. So then they have to go back and start again. Draw us out, draw the whole football club out of our half of the pitch, up into their half, and then they pick us again. And then they just very patient. Control, patience, all things that Ten Hag was saying last season, we've seemed to lost this season. And it's kind of just everywhere. I expected us not to lose here, and
you said we bloody wouldn't lose a game here all flipping year,
bro.
It's the third game at home we've lost,
bro. I didn't anticipate Ten Hag to play two forwards like this. I didn't anticipate that, and Casemiro, and for me, this was never a Ten Hag player, if that makes sense. I think it's 6. He wants someone to carry the ball and drive the ball. 3 or 4
about his performance. What you said,
bro? 3 or 4 bypasses in a row, and then you complain. Like he played one pass off the pitch and then played another one in the same, within the same few minutes, and is blaming other players. Careless with a challenge. When he loses the ball on a counter charge, just wants to put flying tackles into nobody to try and make up for it. He's not there. He's not physically. He doesn't look. He looks a bit jaded. We need someone. Amrabat, I think, is going to be a blessing when he comes in, but I just think the players mentally are just so poor, man.
Big up Marcel, chatting to Flex outside Old Trafford there. Super chat here from, who is it from? From Matafalu says, stop defending Eric. What was Marcel going to offer that Hojlund wasn't? We were 2 goals down, play both, not one for the other. His decisions were awful yesterday. I'm not suggesting that Erik ten Hag made perfect decisions yesterday. All I'm saying is literally what he said. Simon Stone here, he said it in the press conference. Erik ten Hag says Rasmus Hojlund was not fit enough to play a full 90 minutes at the moment. Says when Martial is fully fit, he will contribute. So, I don't know about the last bit, but I didn't see the need to boo a substitution, which to me, I can see why he probably made the substitution. I'm not saying that I wasn't frustrated. When you're chasing a game, you don't want to bring off the 70+ million striker that you signed, or 60, but whatever the final price was for Rasmus Hojlund. But the guy's been out of action. We signed an injured player. He didn't play the first, 3 games? He came on as a substitute against Arsenal. That's the first game he started all season, because didn't he come off the bench for Denmark in the international games as well? So it probably was already predetermined that he was going to come off. And that is when, as fans, we do need to be realistic in that situation where I go, right, do we want to risk Rasmus Hojlund getting injured and then not having him again for a prolonged period of time, or should we take him off when we do have a striker on the bench? I mean, I didn't understand the need to boo that one. I didn't, and when that reaction happened, I went, that's not good. It's not good. And again, it was frustrating, obviously, but clearly there was a predetermined, amount of time he was going to play, Hojlund, 65 minutes. And I'd rather have him available for the entirety of the season when it comes to that as well. So I'm not even saying that it's... I understand the disappointment. I understand that people would be emotional with that one, and people would want goals. But that's it. You know, I don't really get that one. Leo says, "Oh, and people in the stadium were emotional and wanted them to stay because they needed goals." I understand that. I don't get me wrong. Like I said, I understand the disappointment. I don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there going, "Good, Hojlund needs to go off," but there is logic behind that one, and that is when we need to be like, you have to look at the long term when it comes to him. Is that what we want to do? You know, we want to run him into the ground? Would you want him to get re-injured when he's literally, that's the first game he started all season. That is the first game he started all season. Do we really want to, you know, run him into the ground? We don't want to. We don't need to do that in that instance. So there you go. Let's get some more reaction. This time from DJ inside UVHQ. Here's what DJ had to say.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know, man. Like, we're finished, bro. Like, you know what,
bro? You can only look, bro. We're finished. This ain't even my fan. Go on.
Yeah. You know what? Like, let me just try and give you lot some good analysis. Yeah, like, we come out where 10, 15, between 10 and 20 minutes, we're all over them. Yeah, like our players were up for it. You're thinking, right, we're gonna try and you know, get something going in this game. Everyone's playing well, good performance. Rashford's looking hungry.
Yeah.
And we just capitulate. We lose a goal again on the transition. And that's something that's been happening to United a lot. We lose the goal in the transition, and then the team just can't recover. We just couldn't recover from that. It was a body shot, man. That was a bad body shot. And it was a body shot because up until that point, United were all over Brighton. They get the goal back. We showed signs, but nothing, bit toothless, nothing concrete. You know, we get a goal ruled out, which was rightly so ruled out. But again, you know, the chips aren't falling in our favour at the moment.
Yeah, luck's not on our side, man. Luck's not on our side at all today. But I think this game's beyond luck, though. I heard Micah say something about Ten Hag's gone up against Deserby, 4 times? Yeah. Out of them 4 times, Ten Hag's beaten him once in a penalty shootout.
Yeah. Deserby seems to have Ten Hag figured out, and I think the diamond was working early on because we saw it. We saw it was a diamond formation, and the diamond was working early on. But then Deserby started to, you know, switch up the tactics, and we just couldn't hang with him after that. Literally, the first thing was working well. We didn't have a plan B. We didn't have a plan C. It was like Ten Hag today was like, plan A, that's all I've got. That's what's going to work. We've got a lot of players out. The bench looks mad thin.
It's Carabao.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the players that came on, man.
We had Hannibal. Big up Hannibal for the goal. It was a really good goal. But outside of that, that was it.
Did anyone shine for you today? Was there anything to take home from this game and say, you know what, if there's more of that, we could do this, or is there anything?
Do you know what? I'm going to be critical of a lot of players right now.
Go ahead. The floor's yours. Do your thing, bro. We can't even pretend.
Yeah, like on a level, like there was a big discussion about the goalkeeper last season.
Yeah.
And Onana coming in, for as good as he is with his feet and the passing, his shot stopping is questionable.
And look, DJ's right when it comes to that. I didn't want to go throughout the show and not talk about Andre Onana. Obviously, his distribution is excellent. Obviously, his passing is excellent. I think it's fair to say his shot stopping is suspect. You cannot look past that. You cannot look past the shot stopping aspect of it. Is suspect. He made a good save from Ansu Fati at the end. By that point, we're 3-1 down anyway. Could have been 4-1. He made a couple of saves yesterday, but his shot stopping is suspect. The third goal yesterday, in particular, he gets his hands to it. Got to be saving that. You have to be saving it. And now it's going to rear its head again because those people, and I was one of them at one point, but I'm not going to be like, see, I told you so, because I was a convert saying we needed to go in a different direction. We need to be more progressive. But those people that stood firm will be saying, I thought being a goalkeeper was about saving shots and keeping the ball out of the net. The conversation's going to start again. And it's a problem. That's absolutely a problem. Now, granted, Onana, you do have to give him time. Hopefully, the shot stopping will improve, but that's a that's a price we're going to have to pay, unfortunately. The shot stopping is suspect, no problem. And now those people that were really go-hung and pushing, this is going to make a big change, people are looking at them going... But also you could argue as well that we're still incredibly vulnerable and we're still conceding gilt-edged chances all the time in the game as well. You look at the goals, as I mentioned, that we conceded. Should Onana do better for several of them? Yes. Do you look at the build-up play from? Should we do better from a defensive point of view? Yes. I mentioned earlier on, we've conceded the version of a same goal near enough in every game this season as well. And whilst we talk about individuals, and as we go through the show, that's what you do. You point out individuals and say, that player didn't play well, that player didn't play well. For this instance, that player should have done better, he should have done better, etc. You do take a step back and just go, collectively, that team was not good enough yesterday. Was not good enough. Performance was not good enough. And it's incredibly disappointing. But Onana should take criticism for a couple of the goals as well. He just should, because he should do better. And... that's not to say that, David De Gea didn't make mistakes last season, because he did. Absolutely he did. We remember him. I mean, KG said he's got to go 10 million times because of a mistake. But he will also have to take criticism yesterday, because he wasn't at his best either. Like, he wasn't. And people will be looking at it and going, the shot stopping is not good enough. It's not. And that needs to improve as well. In addition to, obviously, the distribution's great, but... also, you got to be saving shots. I mean, call me crazy. Finally, let's get some more reaction outside Old Trafford. Flex spoke to Charlie. Here's what Charlie had to say.
The first 20 minutes or so was actually really, really good. Like, you had Eriksen turning in midfield, like the old Eriksen. Rashford was doing little flicks. We looked really, really bright in the first 20 or 30 minutes. And then I think tactically, throughout the game, I think we struggled with the diamond. It was interesting to see that we started with the diamond and the split strikers. That's something I've thought about before, maybe against the top teams when you want to play on the counter, for example. But I thought after sort of half an hour, we struggled with Brighton's fullbacks, because they build up in a very, very sort of wide four. So they have the two centre backs, the two fullbacks really wide, and then they play like a 4-2-4, like a 4-2-2. So what happens is their fullbacks stay really, really wide. So because we didn't play with wingers, our midfield players that were wide midfield players that were so narrow had to keep going out to their two fullbacks. Constant. And if you're Eriksen, it's a bit too much, because we know Christian Eriksen physically is not the same player he was before, and even McTominay struggled at times to do it, but he can obviously do it to
loads, especially second half.
But yeah, so I feel like it worked for the first 20 or 30 minutes, and then I thought as the game went on, it got worse. For that particular reason. And also, I think when you don't play with natural wingers, you don't stretch the pitch. So we weren't getting a huge, apart from Reguilon, who got a good amount of crosses in all fairness, we weren't creating enough chances in the box, basically. And I think it took Ten Hag too long to change it. Obviously, he brought on Garnacho, Pellistri, Wan-Bissaka at the end. I really don't like when he only leaves 3 defenders on at the end.
Oh, it's mental. He's just waiting to concede a fourth, and we probably should have.
Yeah, I know it's because people will say, people who are watching will say, oh, we wouldn't have scored anyway, blah, 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 the game was gone. But if you, the fewer defenders you have on the pitch, the harder it is to build out from the back and create those chances that you need to do. And he's done it before at home against somebody else when we needed a goal. You need to leave all your defenders on the pitch so you can build through to your midfield, to the attack. Bruno was playing in the 6 at the end, and then he ended up at centre-back.
Centre-back, bro.
Right at the end, he went
centre-back, fully.
So your most creative
João
player...
Pedro, your Evan Ferguson, you go, blood, give me this ball now.
Your most creative players at centre-back at the end of the game. I think, and I do blame Ten Hag for those two things, not changing it quick enough and changing it back to a 4-3-3. He could have taken one of the midfield players off, put Bruno, play Casemiro, or take Casemiro off because he was very poor. Casemiro, McTominay with Eriksen and Bruno. And then you could have had Pellistri come on the right, and Rashford maybe could have been taken off as well for Garnacho because Rashford was really poor, and then Hojlund.
Big up Charlie, speaking to Flex there. What I will say before we wrap things up, one thing I have noticed over the last 24 hours is there is a lot of rewriting history and there is a lot of revisionist history. I've seen people, and they did it after the Arsenal game, going, we played better football under Ollie and all this kind of stuff. Do we remember how it ended under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? People go, under Jose, we played better stuff. Do we remember how it ended under Jose Mourinho? Or even Rangnick was playing better stuff than this. Do we just recall the Ralph Rangnick tenure in charge of Manchester United? We've got to stop doing this. We've got to stop lying to ourselves when it comes to this, because we rewrite a lot of history as fans. We look to, a game and go, see, it was good like that. I remember Ole's last season, it was ridiculous. I remember him just Ralph Rangnick's tenure. He got 20 minutes of a gegenpress, and that was about it. We've got to stop rewriting history. And look, it's challenging. And as I said at the end of the full-time view yesterday, it's going to be a shit week. It's going to be a tough week for United. It's going to be a tough week for Erik ten Hag. Feels like every week at the moment it's a tough week. But, we've got a really, 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 really tough game against Bayern Munich on Wednesday. Coming out of that, it might be rough. It might be very, very rough. And there'll be questions asked. I will say, looking at the fixtures ahead, it's a big sort of month of games for United and Erik ten Hag. The sort of last few games of September and the month of October is massive. You've got obviously Burnley next weekend away from home, tough game. We've got Palace twice, both at home in the EFL Cup, Carabao Cup, and then in the Premier League. We've got Galatasaray at home, Brentford at home, Sheffield United away, Copenhagen at home. Then we've got Manchester Derby at the end of the month in October. But that really, the end of this month and the next. And the majority of October is a massive month for Man United, is a massive month for Erik ten Hag, because realistically you're looking at those games and saying there can't be slip-ups in those games, and you should be winning those games as well. So it's going to be a horrible week. It's going to be a tough one. What we need as well, we just need a big performance. We need a big performance. We need a big result, a bit like at the beginning of last season. We lost those first two games and it was doom and gloom. We had Liverpool at home and we all said, myself included, we ain't winning this game. We're going to get battered. We're going to get absolutely destroyed. Then we won that game and that was a catalyst. We need a big performance. We need a big result out of somewhere that we can't see coming at the moment, because we couldn't see it coming against Liverpool last year. And then just hopefully that's a catalyst for us to develop, hopefully. But it's going to be a rough week. There's no doubt about that. But still back the manager, because let's not go crazy here and let's not, be so reactionary or anything like that. It's going to be a tough week, though. And there's going to be a storm. We've just got to weather it, certainly. Anyway, guys, look, have a good Sunday. We'll be back live this evening, 7 p.m. Full view. It is. The full panel is going to be there chatting about the game yesterday. Everything Manchester United, what's going wrong? Is there any hope moving forward? All that kind of stuff. So be sure to join us then. Anyway, have a good Sunday. I'm out of it. Have a good one. Peace.